Welcome back to the Dynasty Grind. We do a Dynasty Funish football podcast. Well, not podcast, a stream, a live stream, whatever this is that you're watching right now, which I'm meant to be telling you about. It's going well. It's going well so far. Now, welcome back. We live stream every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till we get tired, really, or close, or you run out of questions. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, ideas about fantasy football or Dynasty in general, drop them whatever comment box you are watching, wherever the comment box is on the streaming platform you're watching us on. Yeah, because we go to a whole bunch. Yeah, that's about it. Not much happened this week. Just a regular old grind week. All I know is that we have a surprise guest for us this week, which is nice to see. Well, used to not be a surprise, but we're happy to see him. And also, it's not Puca Nakua season. Sue me. Okay. Who decided that I should be the one in charge of buttons and talking at the same time? Like, I'm not the greatest at that. I forget which way around you guys go.
That way. No, other way.
I don't know, but I'm getting busy with you doing that, so let's not do that.
Zach Reed and Dynasty Airhouse back again. The boys ride for week one, I guess. Yeah, how was your week one? Is it Puca Nakua season for you? Have you gone out and traded for all the Puca Nakua?
I didn't have to because I had him all over the place already.
Yeah.
Except for the league we're in with Derek Brown. He's got him in that league.
Does he?
I don't know.
I also had no picks in that league. You know,
that's because you won.
When you win a league, you don't need picks.
When you finish second, you still don't have any picks, but you don't get to gloat.
That's fair and sad. I do not have Puca in that league.
All things being serious, Puca Nakua had a pretty good week one, volume-wise, but it looks weird, and I would vote for him to be one of the 6 that isn't ranked 12 at the end of the season.
Do you expect his 78% target? No, it was like 43%. But do you expect that to continue, Peter?
Oh, yeah, that's not even the best part. It's like the 50% targets per route run, which everyone likes because they think that because it's like targets per route run is literally like targets that you earn when you run a route. So people equate that to the ability to earn targets, when in fact it's just a efficiency metric that regresses. The whole point is bad.
In Nakua's defense, though, like you can't do any better than what he did. Like that, like
no, it was a great week on. Yeah. 4th round pick pays good, but I think, and I think, there's no need to trade him away desperately right now. But if I can use him to get into a tier of players that's more certain, like that's where my head's at on him. Like if I can suddenly add a first to him and get, pick your poison right now because they all stunk. And they're in my lineup.
You'll get T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. Oh, that'd be a great one. I was gonna say Waddle, but he wasn't really disappointing. It was just he didn't get the
7 points. That's not great. No, but we recorded the DLF trade show, Addison and me today, and we talked about some Puca trades. And the one that just made perfect sense to me was Puca in a second for a first. Because let's face it, if you got Puca, assuming you did not trade for him in the past 5 days, you got him in like the 4th, or you picked him up on the waiver. So pretty much getting a value of a second for him is like fantastic. Because something plus a second for a first is usually just 2 seconds ish.
Yeah, the target on like 50% of the routes that he ran, that's just unsustainable. It's like 31% higher than the top 12. And the routes were distributed pretty much evenly across the top 3 receivers. And even Tyler Higbee was running like pretty damn close to the set. It was just it's not set yet, put it that way.
No,
unless all the Puca Nakua truthers want to gang up with me to be a Tutu Atwell truther, then I'll allow it. Then I'll allow this to be a stable usage. But other than that, no.
Well, I mean, say what you will. The second Cooper Kupp is back on the field. None of it matters.
Yeah,
let's face it. Even if Puca somehow was drafted in the 4th round, but happens to be a 2nd round wide receiver talent that just people missed on, he's not as good as Cooper Kupp is. And while I did not, see anything mapped out, I'm going to assume a lot of their targets will be in very similar places, in which case that means Cooper Kupp is going to take those back. Though I think I heard that most of Puca's routes were ran from the outside, and Kupp is usually in the slot, so they can exist at the same time. But I mean, he's not getting anything near that with
He's
Cooper
one of
Kupp.
those low slot, low ADOT guys. It messes with my mind. Yeah. I've considered Cooper Kupp trades, like going out and trying to get him, but all the teams that it would make sense, I'm the guy waiting for him to return, so it's not gonna.
Yeah, like that's got to be so weird. I would be very interested to see, especially now that they just actually put him on IR, what a trade with Cooper Kupp would look like right now, because I can't picture it.
Yeah, real tough trade. I guess you got to trade him for like a rookie with some buzz right now and a second, because you don't want to give up first, but they don't want to give him away for anything less than a first because his points are going to be worth it. So yeah, it's a weird ass trade. You got to have two teams in the right situation, I think. And Aaron Rodgers is done now, apparently. So that's nice. Hey, Dave. Toronto Dave says he loves YouTube. I guess.
Dave
Powers is now a YouTube member. Don't officially know what that means, but we appreciate it and like that.
You, man.
Jesse Reeves. I know that guy.
I love that guy.
Genji Gang is back. Yeah, nice return for week 1, I guess. Unplanned, or at least I didn't know that. Genji, the demise of Matt Stafford was greatly exaggerated. I feel like that's what we said. Rather, if I was interested in upside, we're interested in the Matt Staffords of the world rather than the. Jordan Love has a solid week 1, to be fair, but I'm still out. Like Love, Pickett, who disappointed more than I thought he was. And then who's the other fella that
Ritter?
Yeah, Ritter. We were like, trade him before people, or I said, trade him before people see him. Jordan Love definitely should have waited. But
and Genji, the Matt Stafford was kind of health contingent. Like we know Stafford is good when he's healthy.
Sometimes when his arm's broken in the last quarter or whatever.
DJ Moore and a second for Cooper Kupp.
I would rather have Kupp. I know, Peter, you're still like clinging to that. Numbers for DJ Moore.
You say that when I'm like, I've never been that guy since his rookie season. I had him ranked above Calvin Ridley, and honestly, that worked out for reasons that we couldn't have predicted. Yeah. But
someone actually, wow! I just scrolled in the fact that you said that.
Him.
Someone did a straight up trade of Calvin Ridley for Cooper Kupp before the season started.
There's possibility with that trade because if you're trading for value, then DJ Moore is going to be more tradable this time next year. You know, like there's a logic there. But
if DJ Moore doesn't produce now, is that?
That's true. Yeah. I forgot that DJ Moore had a terrible week 1. I think it's going to bounce back a little. I think he's a top 24 wide receiver. You know, he's going to be fine by the end of the season, but he doesn't have that top 12 in his range of outcomes.
I mean, he's no Darnell Mooney, but he's fine.
Well, I think no, actually, I don't think he's ever produced that high on a season basis. Donald Mooney had a little bounce back. I was surprised. Were you happy week 1? Because I remember asking you specifically, because he's one of the vets that's produced. I thought about going out and traded, and you were the one that was higher on him than me first. And I was like, don't you like him anymore? And you said, he's fine.
He's fine. I mean, surprised? I just, he had 7 targets. He had a good game. He had 4 catches on 7 targets. The touchdown kind of saved him. It's not a bad game, but if, like...
He's still the 2 in that offense, and I'm not saying
I wasn't listening. Who are we talking about?
Darnell Mooney. I think Komet had he only got like
Komet had 7 targets too.
That was a surprise to me, and I think
so did Roshan, baby.
Yeah, Roshan's a big news. I think the biggest news coming out of there is Justin Fields is in the top 5 dynasty quarterback now, right?
Yes, he is. I'm sorry, one game's not going to destroy that.
It's not one game though.
Wait,
game.
Okay, stop.
Another bad season.
He never should have been top 5. Like top 8, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's getting delicate.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's getting
so
delicate.
Many teams looked bad this week that it's just like
that's true. It was one weird ass week.
Like we had, okay. So Thursday night was a good game, and then we had. Crap. Ooh, San Francisco looks good. Crap. And then finally we got Miami and the Chargers, and it's just like, thank you, football. Thank you. You're
Yeah,
back. Crap. Like, so at this point, I'm willing to just forget that week 1 ever happened. I'm not taking anything away from this.
It was a weird
Short
week
of
one,
Calvin
and I
Ridley
don't say that
awesome.
lightly.
Well,
like, I was importing my results, and I haven't finished, but this is like the only week where average projections got 0% of the top 5 QBs right. Like 0%. Normally it's at least 33%. We're pretty good at it.
No.
And this week it was just like there was zeros. I was like, oh my god, it's broken. But it's just no. Everyone expectations were kind of out the window week 1. And then Joe Burrow's like, I got the money now, I guess, is the narrative. Really, it's probably just because it was raining. But
also the Browns just always have their number. And apparently they tried to put gloves on him because it was raining. And then someone had the wonderful tweet they're literally and metaphorically taking the gloves off of Joe Burrow. And I just thought
nice. Yeah, thanks, Genji. That's fun conversation.
Week 1 is so funny to me though, because it's almost like the island week.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about island games during the season, but like week 1, everybody is plugged in because everybody's fantasy team is like still good. Everybody's NFL team is still undefeated, except for my team, who, you know, you knew they were going to get shelled, and then they ended up actually being okay.
I got Brandon Ayuk a lot this week.
Yeah. But like,
and I Brandon Ayuk someone else. That felt good. It felt good to be on the good side.
I wish I tried hard. Like, I'm so annoyed with myself. This happens every single year. There's one dude where I'm just like, I want this guy. I don't want to pay that much. I don't want to pay that much.
I know.
And then it turns out
you're in the right place, but you can't get him. And you're like,
and like,
I knew it.
And I know, again, it's only week 1 and I'm not buying everything, but we knew Purdy liked Ayuk. And I don't think Ayuk's going to score 2 touchdowns and go for 100 yards every single week. But it's just like, you had to rub it in my face right away. Like, I got a couple of shares and it feels pretty good, but
I like the week 1. I like week 1 island game though. Someone had a tweet that said you wouldn't drop a player because of one bad week in week 6. So don't do it now. And
sure.
I like the logic behind it, but the thing, I think week 1 is different. One, we have more false flags week 1 than we have by week 2 or any other week. And yet we have more that we can rely on. Like, again, 2 to 4 of the top 12 at every position is pretty much going to finish there. And that's more than I think most people would generally think. Like, I can name 4 of these guys. It's pretty easy to do outside of injury. And they're going to finish there, yeah. And yet you have people tilting hard, dropping players that I haven't seen play yet because, you know, they haven't seen it yet. And maybe I've got a couple of extra weeks, so I'll waiver wire them. So you've got all this variance with a little bit more certainty in some areas that people think. I think this is a week. The first 4 weeks are when you make strong moves. I'm in on this. I'm out on that. You just have to kind of be cautious about it. So I don't think it's the same. Like a player does. I think it's underrated that the NFL is figuring out their offense. Yeah, they had a preseason training camp where only so much of it could be in pads, but they're getting them on the field. They're seeing them in different game situations and they're adjusting. And I think week 1 is different. I think, don't drop players that didn't do anything because you haven't seen any reason to drop them or not. But I think week 1 overreaction is justified. I just think sometimes we get it wrong a lot. Who for you guys, and I know we're not doing a podcast and I'm treating it like a podcast. We'll get to your chat, I swear. But I haven't had anyone to talk to about this because everyone that I know in real life's like, huh? What? Go away.
Sir,
when
this is a
you
Wendy's.
even mention the idea of it. And then, no, sir, this is a grocery store, quite literally. So who surprised you or you think might be underratedly have a positive week? For me, I keep squinting. One, I think Jordan Addison had the best rookie week 1 of any of them. I really do. And I think I haven't heard anything about it. And I think he had a really good week 1. And relative to the fact the offense kind of worked as it should do, and he fit in kind of what you would expect. Like, it was a really good week. Just like, that's what a perfect good rookie week 1 looks like. And the other one's Josh Downs might be a little sneaky. I thought that was actually pretty positive.
Zay Flowers.
I was really surprised.
That's the one I was going to wait to say.
Like, Zay Flowers.
And I think the real reason is we
that's
knew
what everyone thinks.
We knew Jordan Addison is good. And we knew.
I mean, like, we knew Zay Flowers was good too.
Well, I didn't put in that comment. That's the reason we're emphasizing Addison
and be the number 1 target good. Like, I get that Mark Andrews wasn't there, but like,
It was
with
a little
how
gadgety. Sorry, let me shut up.
No, like I think it's more of the fact that we knew Jordan Addison was that good, and especially with the way he, did what he did. But like Zay Flowers, I don't think I was ready for him to get like what was like
10
11
targets.
targets,
No,
7 catches.
10 targets.
Like
that was incredibly positive.
That's more, and maybe that might be the fact that like, oh Bateman, and of course, it's a new offense.
Man, I'm fresh off the loss.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's a new offense without. I mean, say what you want. Mark Andrews will always be the pass catcher one there. So there was a whole lot going against that team right there, and Lamar did not have a full off season because of contract things. Like, but I'm still impressed with what I saw out of Zay, even though I didn't get to see it all. So for what I've read or heard about from Zay, so like that really, I know it's the easy answer, but it's true. And your Josh Downs call is wonderful because like I'm sitting there like crying in my hands. Please just throw the ball to Pittman. Please just throw the ball to Pittman. And then finally he started throwing the ball to Pittman and stopped throwing it to Downs.
I think Pierce was the plan, and after the routes he ran last year, he should have been. He got a lot more routes this week as well, but the result was Josh Downs that targeted him by a significant amount. I think that should change the plan. I think that's the impressive part for me. It's not Zay Flowersy, but it's he came in and I think defied what they expected and did a lot better and ended up earning a lot more targets. And I think that could alter their plan. And that's also positive for his transition, maybe. But again, it's 1 week. And with Zay Flowers, yeah, incredibly positive. And again, I was hum-haring, but I didn't. It's one of those profiles where it works out. And I'm going to be, like I say with Brandon Ayuk, I did not like him. I just didn't like him as much as everyone else because, etc. And that's fine. But like, and I shouldn't do this. This is the exact kind of thing I say not to do, but making excuses. But Bateman's coming off an injury and only played 29% of the snaps and was still pretty good on the target share department. That stuck out to me a little bit. And Zay Flowers' usage was a little unsustainable, but he's clearly the one right now and should be expected to do it. That was a really good week 1. Like, it's not Nakua-esque. It's really solid.
It was a good week 1, and they didn't have the passing volume that we expect.
Right.
Going forward. So it was not a pretty game for the Ravens, but it ended up being a pretty game for Flowers.
Point Gridiron's got a question. I was going to ask one. I thought Richardson, and I'd been pretty convinced that I should lean out on Richardson by the time the season got here. Most of the offseason, I was like, I'll let someone else make the bet, but I've been pretty convinced like it was going to be a tough slog. But his week 1 was like that stopped me leaning. Put it that way. It was really solid. And Lamar Jackson, like, where's the passing volume in that game script? Like I still believe in the player pretty much, but that team just consistently baffles me in its decisions on how to deploy the offense. That was a weird week 1 for Lamar Jackson too. So where are you guys at on this question? Is Richardson above him in Dynasty already?
No. Like everything we just listed why we shouldn't be like hanging anything on week 1 for Lamar. Like it was like
positive.
I get it.
It was positive for Richardson though, and we already expected he's got that. That's who we hope he kind of can be.
Well, so like Richardson went 24 for 37 for 223 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. That's not great. It's just that he wasn't bad.
Ran for 40 and a touchdown, which saved him.
Yeah. His completion percentage was pretty good. He relied on the slot a lot, which you'd expect for a rookie and also the type of passer he's going to be to start with. But I thought it was positive. But yeah, I'm not putting him alone.
Well, see, that's the thing. Our bar for his passing was so low.
That's fair. Like he didn't set the ball on fire. Yeah,
like he didn't pull a Nathan Peterman. So clearly he's the 101 in startups. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I liked what I saw. I felt a little better about like the 2 shares I have of him, but like, no, I'm not this yet. Not even by the end. Like by the end of this season, Lamar has to be terrible, and A-Rich needs to be real for this to even come close to even happening by the end of the season for me.
Sorry. Someone made a dad joke. I got to respond. Yeah. And I stopped leaning, though. I was like, if he can just maintain that for rookie season, because my expectations are a little lower than the top 12 outcome that redraft was expecting. But if he can just be solid, like a Fields, like a Lamar Jackson was year one, to be honest with you, I'll be like, okay, well, that was definitely a transition, proof that he can at least maybe get to what he needs to in the passing game, like the opposite of Justin Fields, basically, this year, so far. And that was at least positive. Positive is positive, but it doesn't lead me that far. It's still Lamar. What do you think of Roschon Johnson is worth? That's a good question.
Two first, no
I
less.
think we ended up with him a lot. So are you trading for him? Like, I think I'd give him away for
it's going to be too hard to trade for him now, unless you're willing. Like, if you're, see, here's the thing.
But if you've got him, you would, like, what's a reasonable line you would let? Because 2 firsts isn't happening, right?
No, I was joking. See, here's the thing. Like, before I get to your actual question, like, if you're competing and you have your first, you're not going to risk it on Roschon right now. That's not great process. You're going to get the guy who is going to keep doing what they did. Like, you're going to wait to go get Nick Chubb. You're going to, spend it on these guys that you've seen do it before. Okay, but the other way around, like, if I have Roschon, like, I got sent a 24-second for Roschon today on a rebuilding team, and I replied, I'm like, besides the fact that I love Roschon, like, I get that I'm not supposed to want points, but I love Roschon and this ain't happening. Why would I just spent a second on him that this isn't profiting. Like, if we are in the draft next May and I see who's on the board and there's someone better than Roschon, then sure, we could talk about that. But right now, if I'm not getting a first, I'm not even thinking about it, because 2 seconds again is still whatever.
It's got to be a first, and it's almost got to be a first plus, because otherwise, why don't I just try to see where these points go? These points might be pretty interesting this year. Unless you're really not competitive, and then I guess you might trade it.
Not like on my rebuilding team, if someone offered me a first that didn't look like they're winning the championship, I would snatch it. Well, I would take it.
Well, that's the thing. If you're trading a running back to someone, you assume you're making them more competitive and hurting the point of trading for their first. So you kind of got to get a plus.
But that was the whole point of draft. Like, why Roschon Johnson in the mid-second was such a great pick. Is because you had potential for a first-round pick value, because he's a running back, because he's a good running back, because he was undervalued, because he was in the same backfield as Bijan and didn't get the volume. So, like, I know.
You mean as Tyler Allgeier's backup?
Yeah, him. The second fiddle in Atlanta. But Peter, I know that we had the conversation pre-draft when we were talking players. And you're like, well, Roschon Johnson looks good, but there's no sample size. Like, it's a teeny amount of data. What he's also put up look good.
It's the only running back size running back outside of Bijan. So I was like, he's the kind of player where I wish I'd gotten him more, because every time I got him, it was a matter of I was looking who to draft or who to add, and I was like, wait, have I checked for Roschon Johnson? And he'd always be there, so far down the ADP list. And I'd be like, well, of course, him right now. And it makes me feel like I missed him a bunch of times because I'd forget about him. Like, he was so underranked. It felt like I forgot him for that reason. But yeah, you were definitely more on the train. The sample size wasn't there for me, but it showed up on that tape, baby, I guess. I've always been saying, watch the tape.
Zach said the phrase "converted quarterback," and I'm just like, Jet McKinnon, let's go.
Let's go. And that's my guy.
Even better quarterback than McKinnon was. Like, he's
even a good. Okay,
Roschon as a Texas high school quarterback, like, he was legit.
Like, how do you not get a reverse backwards toss and Roschon passes it? Like,
that'll happen.
Do we get a Fields Roschon debate going? Like that?
Well, like, you're talking about, like, he had 7,700 yards passing in high school
in another season,
and another almost 5,000 yards rushing, and accounted for 85 total touchdowns as a high school player. Like, as a quarterback,
the Bears are just now Roschon Johnson. Like, that's the entire offense. He'll pass it, he'll catch it.
So there's your answer on Fields. Fields is done. Roschon the quarterback. Let's go.
Running back. They're gonna play 10 men on the field.
No, Genji, but I kind of wish, like I was saying, just throw rookie picks at tight ends anywhere you can. But I kind of Musgrave. I nothing Musgrave. He was didn't look interesting to me at all.
Yeah.
And after week 1, like everyone else's usage, it looks weird. He's got an ADA of like 50 million. Like I think he played only in the red zone while the team was at their own 1 yard line. But the team clearly is okay using him, willing to use him, and if anything like that usage keeps going, like just regular passing attempts for rookie tight end, it's going to have been a great pick wherever you got him, Genji. Yeah, but I can't say like I'm finally in. His profile was what it was. It didn't show up for me. Gonna have to tight ends like a wasteland for me right now. Outside of Sam Laporta, who also had a good week 1.
Sam Laporta,
just saying.
That was one of the trades.
Donkey Cates was solid as well for a rookie. Like these rookie tight ends, man. You should just like the only ones that haven't done anything. The ones like Josh Wild, I've got everywhere because he was like after the waiver.
Yeah, Mayer did nothing.
And Mayer did nothing. But you know, we all kind of squinted at that one compared to the other 2 in the top 3. Yeah. And who's the other guy? Like I had, who was the Green Bay tight end? And there's another one that went
Musgrave
to the Jets.
Was behind Tucker Kraft.
And
Kraft. I got a Kraft share, and that didn't look good.
Well, but, I mean, he's a slow burn, Pete. Like that'll be fine. It'll happen.
I'm dropping.
Someone on the what's it called on the trade show? Puca for Musgrave, straight up.
I'd rather have Puca.
Like I said, like look, if we want to live revisionist, yeah, you just traded a 4th for a 2nd. I guess that makes you happy, but I don't get it.
rather had Puca anyway.
Well, I mean, in general,
I don't know.
If Musgrave was going in the 2nd, I'm not even sorry I don't have him. Like I'll take any of the wide receivers or running backs they get a miss.
Well, that's in my
that's
league.
just.
Most leagues aren't 0.75 premium, so they was probably in the 3rd for.
Yeah.
For
normal, but don't get opportunity costed. Well, it only costs you an 8th round pick, so you can't ask for a 4th round. No, let's redraft them. Try it again. That's not how that works.
I need to go bounce for my.
I get it.
Yes, I'm here for a half hour before I go to my sniper active draft until I am very quickly eliminated. Then I could be here for an hour instead of just half an hour.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
All right, I guess we can just end the stream now, Jack. Stick 987. 10 teams to flex, start 9, half point PPR. 0.5 tight end premium. Just traded away Gibbs. That's better be good. Flowers, Ingram, and a 24 first. Got Chase and a 25 first. That's actually close because the hype on Gibbs were nuts because of how good he looked. But yeah, you trade for Chase if you can trade for Chase and you got a first. Like that's very easy. But I think the Gibbs window is going to remain open. This feels so Swiftian. And I hate to be he's just Swift in a new wrapper because he's an entirely different person, capable of different things. But fantasy-wise, everyone seems to have forgotten what they said about Swift because they're saying the exact same thing about Gibbs now. He's the best looking running back on the field. Of course he's going to dominate. It's like, I mean, it's like everyone's got amnesia. It just looked like Swift but healthy week 1, you know? Not looked because I wasn't watching. I don't do that. Yeah.
Time is a flat circle, Peter.
And in this case, a very small diameter one. Like it came around quick. But that's a great trade. Go get Chase Higgins.
I mean, it's Chase. Like you're going to be happier with that. You know, long term, he's the best player. Even though we thought Flowers did great, and Gibbs. Like
I don't think Flowers can be Chase. I think Ingram. Like I love seeing Ingram succeed after all that time on the Giants. Like and that terrible first year on the Jacksonville Jaguars when they were terrible, but now they're really putting something together, and I love it. I love it for my Ingram shares as well. But again, the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts here. I'd rather take Chase and just more draft capital, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised. Like that completely. If he's a rebuilding team or a competitive team, he's now competitive and more positions on his roster. He's gotten more players worth multiple firsts. Flowers and Gibbs are going to be worth multiple firsts from here on. Even Ingram's teetering around, suddenly being worth something. And he got a second. Like, I'm not surprised he accepted it fast because this is a well-constructed trade. But I think you got the best part of it in a vacuum, but if that team needs more places to do more trades to keep moving, it could easily work out for them too. Or if they're just trying to compete, like Gibbs this year is going to do Gibbs, and then Flowers and Ingram probably mollifies a team that's weak at multiple positions, replaces those points per game over his rush. Yeah, I think that's fair. None of them are old. Like, I'm not surprised he accepted it. It's just a well-built trade, which is what you're trying to do. So good job. Robbed him, Stickman. Yeah, it's chasing the first, but again, I think there's a path where it works out for both. I can understand it. Love you guys more. That's Jesse to us. We don't love him more. He just said that. No, we like Jesse. Welcome back, Jesse. Desmond Shredder. Oh God, yeah, that's terrible. Drake London is the death of me. How down are you? Based on my timeline, I might start going Drake London shopping. Like, everyone hates him now, and that again, it's 1 week. It was clearly an offensive decision that was just born of some sort of logic that they're not even willing to admit to at this point. But he and Pitts were still the guys running the routes when there were routes, and you got to expect a better situation and still believe in the talent that we've seen. But Zach's about to explain why I'm wrong.
No, this is the same thing that I've said for the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks when we talk about Pitts and we talk about London, and the fact that the fact that was a team that wanted to run it last year, and they went and spent a top 8 pick on the best running back that we have seen come out since Saquon Barkley. They will continue to want to run it. Ritter is not great, which also lends to running the ball. Like, it's not an indictment necessarily of the talent of London or Pitts, but it's not a great situation, and they're in it. And so, like, it was a wide receiving core or a couple of players that I, especially London, have been staying away from anyway. And Peter, I know that we're not supposed to hold on to our priors. I still don't think London was. I think London was like maybe the 5th or 6th most talented wide receiver in that class, and he's not being like, even before he was being valued higher than that because a lot of people thought he was better than that, and so I remain out on London until his price goes down.
Yeah. We were both a little lower coming in. I think you were a little lower than me because I'm just stuck with his numbers, which are solid and good. He was going to be the Zay Flowers guy. Like, I did not like him, but I didn't like him particularly well. And he had a solid rookie season, so I came in a little bit. Still prefer Bucks. Can we Evan Ingram this? Like, Evan Ingram, since we just spoke about him, a lesson for this kind of thing. Bad team, interesting signal, good draft capital. Ingram had a better, probably, tight end profile than London had a wide receiver profile, but it's close. Like, sell when the panic starts instead of playing the guessing game, and then wait until they're worth a second. Could we employ that as a more generic rule to situations like this, where it's clearly a lot about the situation and the coaching staff and the lack of quarterback ability? Would that be too much to establish like an idea to go looking for that kind of role?
No,
that kind of fantasy player. Okay,
I don't think so.
So we should have sold on London and Pitts a while ago and be waiting until they're worth a second.
Waiting for that. Yeah, because you can kind of you can reverse a micro market too, where like oftentimes when we're talking about micro markets, we're looking at getting in on a player when they're low, and then being able to see that their value is going to spike up. But I think it's the same way where like you can sometimes see in reverse where you've got a player that you think is a good player, but is in a situation where their value is going to go down. That waiting for that value to go down may be a good play. And if it doesn't happen, that's fine. You can get in at whatever price you're willing to pay. But
I was thinking about this because someone was trying to, but they didn't have a point, nor they were incredibly articulated. And they were trying to make fun of me for liking Bateman for a second round pick this offseason. And I was like, but I swear I've gotten better at this. Bateman was one of my guys, and I've gotten better at playing market rather than being a this is my guy player. And like, I didn't like his value as a rookie because I felt he was overvalued. I didn't like the blow up in his first season because I thought it was a little overblown. And last season, I even said, don't trade a first for Bateman, but do try and get him if you can.
Right.
And I waited until last offseason when I was like, I'm looking at late first, seconds and something. Like, that's the best window for me for his upside. Like, this is a last, he collapses or he rises over the next 365 days or so. And like, this is the lowest price he's been at. And that to me seemed like a really good timing thing. And that kind of is what the London and thing reminds me of. Like, I felt like, obviously you can end up missing out on them because they end up blowing up before you get to that window, or they can just bust after that pack. But those kind of players, if you wait for that ebb, if you can see an expectation that they should ebb, the offense is bad, the quarterback is bad, the expectation is way too high, and then you get not lucky, but Bateman got a lot of injury issues. Right. Then you can find this lull where you can get in on a guy you think has upside just before the end of his potential window, in terms of breakout arcs in my mind, occur. And they bust still, because only 30% of players ever do what we want them to at best, but at least you're getting them for that second plus or that second value. And that to me seemed like that's kind of where I want to be buying it. So again, good point, Parker. I'm afraid you might have been in too early. Like, I wasn't on Bateman too early a lot of times. But at this point, I think you either have to hold till he's worth nothing, because you'll pass the point where it's a good idea to trade for him. But if you can get a first, get out at this point, probably, because there's probably a lower window coming as this season plays out.
Yeah, but the other thing is, if you got in for a mid to late first, then whatever. I mean, don't sell at this point, because you're probably not recouping that. Yeah. So he's not a bad player. It's just a situation that I don't expect to be a huge boon for fantasy points this year. And because Dynasty is a long-term game, it depends on how you play, and it depends on how your league is. If your league is active, you may be able to, or you could have moved him before the season, where I mean, we've been talking about this. We've been talking about Atlanta being a low volume passing offense. They threw the ball 18 times last week. They're not going to be a high volume passing offense, and it's going to be hard to, even if Pitts and London get the percentage, the piece of the pie that we want them to get, that pie is really small.
I tell you what, Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson just being awesome on basically half a workload was just that was fun for my fantasy week. I was like, I wasn't even expecting anything much from Breece early, and that warm run was wow.
Yeah. Well, did you see my? You probably didn't. My tweet. Somebody had posted like the screen grab of Breece Hall's first two runs, and it was like 2 for 109. And it was like a 56 something yard average. And I was like, well, yeah, but if you take away his breakaway run, he's only averaging 26 yards a carry. You know how everyone likes to take away. Sorry.
James, maybe, I guess. I love getting later value in rookie drafts. I hate the way we explode that up to mean that was expected or should expect that, though. Mostly, no. There's nothing in his profile. He was good enough. My process worked how it should. If he ends up being a lot more than I expect, like, good job, but I don't think I want in on that process, because I think it leads to more negatives than I'm comfortable allowing in, especially once I paired it with people that watch the tape. And I know Derek Brown was high on him, but most people I talked to said, not really. They didn't see the ability outside the explosive play here and there. But you know, people say watch the tape. I started listening to you all, and you all said no, and now I'm an idiot for not no. No, it's fine. I'm excited about it, and more good players in fantasy would be a good thing for me. Like spread out some of that value. So that's awesome. Genuinely, just what I see in his usage.
Do you remember? And I'll have to find the game. I don't think it was when he was a rookie, but Kevin Ogletree had it might have been his second year, but it was week 1, and he had some ridiculous, like, I don't even remember what it was, but it was 2 or 3 touchdowns, and it was like 100 yards, and everyone dropped everyone to pick up Ogletree, and it's again, Puca's fine. but let's temper a little bit. I mean, like a 43% target share is not sustainable. Like,
Neither's a target per round. He wasn't getting that many rounds to sustain. Like they were evenly split.
Like it was.
And
it
the
was
other
not,
thing
like,
was, like you can point to a lot of examples, especially week one. That's why it's a really interesting week. John Ross, 2019, first 2 weeks, he was a top 12 wide receiver, like phenomenally so, over 100 yards both weeks. 3 years after he was a rookie, I think, and like people expected that explosiveness with volume, and like that tricked a lot of people. I think someone mentioned Adam Troutman as well, did something similar early on in the season, but Ogletree is a good one. I think
Sammy Watkins week one every year.
Yeah, what was he? It was 2017 or so. He was a great. No, 2000. I remember 2019 as well, because I was looking at him week over week, and Sammy Watkins was a lead wide receiver 1 week. It happens, but yeah, and if he's a lot better than I expected, that broadly helps me because more good players is a good thing. Like let's get someone to help Stafford score points. That'll help out my teams if nothing else. Yeah. And Nick Lowringer, 12-team 1 QB. Where Dak is my QB1. 12-team 1 QB. The Fields owner offered me Fields for a second. Not in a 1 QB. I don't think I'm spending a second on most quarterbacks and not Fields. Or Brian Robinson. Should I do either?
No, I don't think I would there, especially
in a 1 QB. Yeah,
especially with Dak. And then he said that this is part 1 of something. Part 2 is down. Should I pursue Lamar or Richardson, giving the Fields price point?
Someone just offered me a 24 for Puca. I would hold for a second, to be honest. I think he can do better. You can do better pairing him with something and going up for a player that you like.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't sell for a 24 second yet.
Yeah.
Because I think the hype on him is higher than that at this point, and
you can't look anywhere. If you like fantasy football, that's what's on your feed right now, and for fair reasons.
He was awesome.
Some questions into it,
and honestly, there were a lot of people that were in on Puca pre-draft, especially people who went to the Senior Bowl. Like there was a lot of hype on Puka Nacua, so it's not that Puka didn't come out of nowhere
that's the other thing. People saying 4th round pick. I'm like, probably, but like I'm in a lot of leagues with the people who were in on him, so I think they snagged him.
Well, and he was also like one of the very last picks in the 5th round. Like he was one of the very last picks in the 5th round too, in the NFL draft. So. Mm-hmm. Like your odds of hitting, your odds of doing what he did, like it took an injury, it took him being,
which is more impressive to be fair, to get
and again he's also an older prospect. Like there are a lot of weird pieces to that.
But either way, I think you can do a lot better than 24 second, even right now, and if not, wait. As for would I target Lamar or Richardson, we kind of answered this question earlier. I'd still rather have Lamar. You've also got Lamar at a low and Richardson at an ever-growing high, so Lamar's probably the better one to offer a trade for. But if it's an even trade, if you're trading the same thing for either, I would still want Lamar, but I want a discount on Lamar right now because he's meant to be worse right now in some opinions, or at least try and squeeze a little extra juice out that trade for the disappointing week 1 somehow, like upgrading your second or something like that, or upgrading a 3rd to a 2nd somewhere. As for which should you do, I think you're fine with Dak as a QB1 in a 1 QB 12-team league, so I don't think you have to do either. To be fair, Zach, I'm saying that because I think Dak still has that top 5 upside. Didn't look great week 1. Richardson and Lamar both do. Does that sway you in a 1 QB league? Should we be saying that's the one kind of quarterback that could matter, or no?
No, look, if I'm going to pay up for a quarterback, I want to go up and get like one of the quarterbacks. I think Dak is kind of in that same echelon as those other guys. I mean, if you can get Richardson for a second in a 1 quarterback league, fine, because I think his value goes up from there, and he also has potential to score a bunch of points, but it's not. I don't know.
And the way
I'm
to
not
do the Brian Robinson thing, because it makes no sense to me. Fields should be less than Brian Robinson, but Brian Robinson's a starting running back in a 1 QB league. So if he wants to give you something for Dak, if he wants to give you something and Fields for Dak and Robinson, then that something is what matters. Otherwise, you're just trading for an extra quarterback that you don't need and doesn't do much for you. But that's where my head's at. And again, they're just thoughts. So make sure you manage your own team. Because you can blame me still, but like for your own sake, you can make your own decision if you hate that idea. What are the odds he increases in value? Which one, sir? Richardson,
Puca.
I don't think he could get.
No, he's saying Puca. Puca.
Oh, Puca.
Will
Puca
get
can
higher
easily
value?
Yeah. All we need is a few extra weeks this season, and he's got all season where you're like, oh look, the week 1 signal wasn't bad. That's it.
And there's a pretty there's at least a 4-week window where Kupp is on the IR, where Puka Nacua should be one of the kind of rotating
next week's
targets.
going to be rough. The matchup's going to be tough. And I want to be clear here with Phil. I don't think he's going to be as valuable by the end of the season as he is right now. But I do think he's going to be more valuable to more teams than that second you're being offered right now. Even right now, and over the next few weeks before the end of the season, there's going to be a better trade coming your way. Because I think he's going to do more to establish, like, that was a good rookie season at least.
Even if you
hopefully that's clear. After that, you can make your own decisions, but that's what I'm trying to get across.
Even if you do the Puka and a second to go get a first, like that's a I'd rather do that than trade for a second.
Yeah. And Genji, I think we're in the right place. I've just learned I've been wrong more often, maybe, Genji, and so I don't want to do it because I know what's going to happen. I want to lean that way because I think that's what's going to happen, if that makes sense. Yeah. By the end of the season, I expect a second will be actually probably still a little low. Like, all he has to do is have a solid rookie season and he'll be in that Drake London tier like this offseason, and the second would be too low. So I even think by the end of the season, second will be too low. And I do think by the time we're done with this arc, we'll be like, oh, we'll be mentioning him in the John Ross conversation. But not quite that bad. Greens Point Gridiron. 10-team PPR. I just traded away Ramondre and Garrett Wilson for Olave, for Waddle and Gibbs. What do you think? Ramondre and Garrett Wilson sideways?
So I like that trade. I like getting Waddle and Gibbs, and to the diabolical genius in me that that evil laugh is going to wait for Garrett Wilson to struggle with Zach Wilson, and about 3/4 of the way through the season when the other guy's team is just tanked and Garrett Wilson is underperformed,
try and get him back.
You go say, here, I'll give you a first and a second and take Garrett Wilson off your hands too, and then end up with Waddle, Wilson, and Gibbs and just like be but I would prefer the Waddle and Gibbs side. I think Gibbs is more valuable than Ramondre Stevenson, even if he doesn't score the points that Stevenson is this year. I think long-term dynasty value, people are enamored with Gibbs, and I do think Waddle is still. I prefer Waddle to Wilson, but it's close.
Yeah, I prefer your side. I think you did well, Green's Point. I don't think you made the best trade possible, and mainly because this works out to be a same position trade where neither of you get an edge on either side. So it's Ramondre for Gibbs and Wilson for Waddle, which is about even value on both sides. So it's I know what's going to happen in the future better than you, which is fine. Honestly, strut, my man, do it. And I think you got the right side of that conversation by the end of the year. So we're on the same page. But I mostly want to go looking for trades where there's a potential for us both to increase, because that also decreases my ability to completely lose. Like, Waddle can get hurt. Gibbs can be incredibly Swiftian, shall we say. And suddenly you've lost this for the same reasons. And Wilson can struggle to the end of the season looking good, but not being what we expected, and we'll blame Zach Wilson and his value won't go anywhere. Ramondre is a top 12 running back, and suddenly you, quote-unquote, lost the trade. There is a path to it. And so all I'm saying is, if you want Gibbs for Ramondre, there has to be a value difference. Like, I'll give you Ramondre for Gibbs, and I'll give you a second, and you give me Garrett Wilson. And instead of Waddle, I throw in, I don't mean to use Puka Nacua, but Mike Williams. No, not Mike Williams. He's too old now. I don't know, some other wide receiver in a slightly lower tier. You've got to create an imbalance in the trade. That way you can both win and both lose, and it mitigates both your failures. You've got to stop it being a straight same position trade. But that's more...
That's high level. Yeah.
Process. You know, as far as would I do this trade? Yeah, if that's the best one I can get, yeah. I just wonder if... not wonder, I'm just saying... I'd put, like, Higgins right now is going to be too low in your league. There's a value differential right there that you can maybe squeeze a better trade for both teams out of it because of it, depending on your situation.
Did you see the stat? Did you see the stat from last year that Garrett Wilson averaged the same number of catches when Wilson was not the quarterback as he did targets when Wilson was?
Okay, no, I did not.
Yeah, like it's ugly. Zach Wilson is ugly. I mean, he's a handsome guy, but his play is ugly.
My mom certainly thinks so. No, I didn't mean that. Nicola,
we did this. We did part 2. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so excited. Week 1, new things to talk about, and I'm really far behind in the chat. Sorry for anyone who might be. We still might get a few new people. We do work through them in order, which means you might ask a question. And sometimes we get to it very quickly, and sometimes I'm like this, and it takes an hour. So, you know,
we just got to where people realized Russ was here.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on, Pete. Tim, 12 teams start 10 Superflex, half point PPR, 0.5 for receiving, rushing, first downs. Interesting scoring. I like those little wrinkles. Trevor, and this is a team got offered Christian Kirk and a mid to late first for DK. I would keep DK. And it's rough right now, but I'm playing the long-term value. Like, DK is going to have another bump. So, yeah. I think it's really cool for Christian Kirk to suddenly be in this conversation, to be honest with you. Because I remember the lull and the disappointing start. But, yeah, still DK. Premium over the package. Mid to late first, you got to be sure on that. If you're going to give me predictions, though. Because if that turns up to be a top 3, top 6 pick, then this was bad. Especially in a super flex, this was bad. So nail down your prediction on that, or just consider it mid, and in which case it's still probably fair. That's why I say yes. First year startup, so all my own picks, but my third. That's cool. I have gotten better at trying to keep picks around at least a year in advance, because typically my natural way of playing is to trade them as soon as I get them, and it's not. You can run yourself into trouble real quick.
Well, but
you just eventually got nothing to trade that anyone wants, even though you got good players.
You know me, as when I will trade picks, anything that's not a first round pick, I'm firing off in season, because when I get to that draft class, I can always buy on credit with my next year's pick. To kind of snipe. But
that's kind of, again, like, I would trade 2 years out, and I've tried to at least limit myself to don't trade them a year out, because you need that to do the credit
absolutely
thing at bare minimum. Because I used to deplete them all the way down to like a couple of thirds in 4 years, and I'd be like,
the only time I will trade 2 years out is when I am in a season where I see a window that I need to go get, and it's usually running backs, but I'll usually go, if I have a really good team, I'll go get 2 running backs, and I'll be like, okay, so last year it was, I was trading for Jacobs, I was trading for Henry, I was trading for Eckler, and I'll be like, I'll give you a first plus and a first plus to go get and a lot of people were trading them because they're older, because you're kind of in that last value window where you're not going to get a first going forward for them. And so that's about the only time that I will give up first multiple years out, just because I like to have, or picks multiple years out, because I like to have the ability to move around within a draft, even if I don't have picks, because I have picks next year.
Commit, it's positive week 1. That's all I was mentioning, Genji. Positive is positive, but I'm not suddenly in on call commit. And not to do the whole Dynasty grind predicts thing, but we do, even when we get the small windows wrong, we get the long arc right a lot. It feels like a lot, and I track as much as I can, and I feel like we get the long arc right. And remember back when it was Fields and Lawrence, and I said, Lawrence, we can explain some of that situation away. The profile in college was good. It was Justin Fields that disappointed in terms of his passing elevation, even though he was good. Like, we had it nailed down to this point. And while we missed a lot, and at the time I said, so I'm kind of out on Fields, but Lawrence, I'll accept. Like, I think that's probably going to happen. And, you know, that's 2 years ago when that conversation was raging. Kind of the long arc, we're kind of at the right point. Yeah, I do think now Outhurst is gone, so I have less opposition. Like, I think we're at the last possible moment. And it does, and it feels bad to sell low on a player, especially a player I like. Like, I don't know if it's the coaching or what causes that, but he has struggled to elevate his passing to the NFL level. It's just bad. He's a great guy. He's a good quarterback. I don't know what happened, but that's where we're at.
It's the quick processing, but that's always been kind of the knock at Fields is if he's got time, he can make plays. But if he's got to read, assess, and get rid of the ball quickly, he's just a half beat slow, and you can't do that. I'm like, sacks are a quarterback statistic. I've seen that proven out multiple times, and he takes a lot of sacks. And it's not that he's not athletic enough to escape. It's not that he's not fast enough to escape. It's that he's not processing what's going on in front of him quite quick enough to get out of that situation and get rid of the ball. And especially in today's NFL, where defenses have contracted, defenses have gotten smaller, slimmer, faster. They're built to rush the pass. They're built to defend that kind of spread offense. And so you're seeing a lot of like nickel and dime. So you're even your linebackers, you end up with like the nickel back that's a linebacker, but he's really a
interesting
safety.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. It's interesting that you connected to that, because it feels like a little Geno Smith, like he's a man out of. I was just thinking, like, such a small, like half a beat, and he has so much that so many people can't do and aren't capable of. And he's just this one little tiny thing from being, like, an amazing quarterback. And like, maybe he's just a man at a time. Like, I don't want to give up on the person at all. And so, like, Geno Smith found a win. Like, maybe there's something about the defenses from then to now that he can exploit a little bit. But he had a rough week one, to be fair. But you know what I mean? Like, Justin Fields isn't dead. I don't think he's bad. He's more skilled than 99.9% of the population that's doing exactly this. It's just, it's a rough-ass game.
But he's also,
he's
also, I think to Genji's point, too, though, he's in this real narrow window in Chicago.
Yeah.
Where, like, if he's bad, they're going to draft a quarterback.
They might even try and experiment before the end of the season if it keeps going.
And why would you stick around with it? And then you're hoping that another team takes a shot at him, and you're hoping that he works into a starting job, because he won't have a starting job. If you wash out, chances are another team is not going to just hand you the keys to their team. You're going to have to come in, and so it's like, I get it. I do. And the hard thing to kind of wrap your head around, he's better than Tebow, but yeah. But like, I understand the comp, but I think he's better than Tebow. But the hard thing to wrap your head around is, like, he was a top 4 fantasy football quarterback for the last 8 weeks of the season last year. But
finished top 8. I think he finished top 8, if not definitely top 12 last year overall.
Yeah.
But that struggles for me is, I don't know. Like, he was able to make it work in college, and what you're saying makes sense. But that sucks from a profile standpoint.
But
like, when you find guys who can convert in college,
he made it work in college on a team that had Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Olave and Jameson Williams for a year, and like, it was.
And we're now seeing all of those succeed at the NFL level. Yeah.
I mean, it was it was a pretty good team.
But again, when that comes up, because people use those excuses in the wrong places all the time, I found it was his supporting staff or whatever. Remember also that Justin Fields, like Zach just said, has been good in fantasy football, had many higher arts than this. And so that excuse isn't a reason to not be in on like a rookie profile. It's just one to be cautious of a rookie profile. Like, I think that's a good note too. And again, story's not fully written yet. Like, I still don't want to write off the person. So like, I keep holding out hope, but I think in fantasy cold turkey, as it were, yeah, if you haven't gotten there yet, you better get there fast. But I keep hope for the player. Spot 498 lost Eckler and Deontay. That's rough, man. Rougher for them, obviously, but still. By depth, let's see. 12 team Superflex start 10 PPR non-tight end premium quarterback. Well, this is the team. Does he need to go out and trade? Let's see. It is Superflex, and you've got Trevor Lawrence, Watson, Kyler Murray, Tannehill, Bijan. I know you're exactly in the top 30%, so I don't want to buy depth. I want to move forward. If you can find good trades, find good trades, but I wouldn't be giving up future value or age to do it. That would be my general rule here. Yeah, you want to try and compete, and I think you should try and do that, but don't do it at the expense of your value necessarily. So you're looking at London. We expect a continually bad year, and I would rather buy London right now than sell him, but I think there's a lower window coming as the season plays out. So is there a team that's building in your league that will give you like a really, instead of depth, like a really good starter if you add to London and then you're giving them all the juice? Players that come to mind, and this is your bleeding value to do it though, is like Stephon Diggs. Go for the old guy. So I don't want to go for depth. I want to go one way or the other. That's what I'm essentially saying. So you could add to London, get a Diggs. That'd be tempting.
Yeah, but the Eckler thing too is you don't know how bad that ankle. Like they're reassessing tomorrow. Like I know he missed practice today, and I know, but like you don't know yet. At least I don't know yet. Maybe that's come out on Twitter, and I have to search. But like everything I've read is they're reassessing Eckler's ankle tomorrow. So like even if you miss a week or two of Eckler, that's not a big deal yet. That's not a panic move. That's not a go get,
Yeah, with your running back loss, I would just do what we do with running backs anyway. Try and grab those ones at the waiver wire that pop off, roster as much depth as possible, and hopefully you're rostering some of these promising rookies and I hope they work into volume. I wouldn't trade for that running back. That's why I went straight to the wide receiver. And I guess that's way of my trying to have both at once. You're trading for the position that doesn't lose values consistently. Because with Lawrence and Watson and Bijan, ASRB, Higgins, I think by the end of the season, and Andrews, you're not too far away from a very competitive roster, but you're not in that top 30% that should be willing to do it no matter what, if you know what I mean. You're towards the top of that 70% in terms of competitiveness. So keep your eye on it is all I'm saying. Like I might do a trade for someone like Diggs where I'm giving London, but it'd have to be a pretty good trade. I'm not doing it just because I'm all in on this season and this gets me points. So just keep your eye on it, I wouldn't just do it. I don't do trades just to find fill-ins. Like I'm not trading for, Bateman, honestly, at this point. And because of, no, that's the wrong example. We need an actual top 24 player. Dotson, rising young player who I think has top 24 in line for the season. Like I don't want that level of points on this roster. I'd rather just trade for first if I'm going to do something like that. I don't want this starters. Best ideas I've got. He's so bad. Stop talking about him. Ryan D. 10 teams who start 10 Superflex, half point PPR, 0.5 tight end premium. Give Keenan Allen, Flowers, and Everett got Olave in a 25-second. How high are you on Olave at this point? Because I kind of like the points with Keenan Allen, and Flowers and Olave are really interesting. If Flowers keeps anything like this up.
Yeah, it's still probably a lot. I'd rather have Olave than Flowers, and I'd rather have the second than. Well, I say I'd rather have the second than Allen. You're giving up points with Allen, but I still think long term it's Olave over.
If I'm a competitive team, I don't mind taking Keenan Allen and Flowers to lose Olave. I think it's a well balanced trade. Ryan, if your team's in the right situation, I prefer Olave. Like, that's the player I want the most in Dynasty, so that side in a vacuum. But competitive roster getting Keenan Allen with the Flowers looks like he's going to hold close to Olave value if he keeps anything like this up. I would make that gamble on a competitive roster. So, again, perfect trade. Hopefully, your team's in the right situation for the side you got. Tim, worried about Kirk not getting 2 wide receivers set snaps. I don't really track 2 or 3 wide receiver set snaps. Seems like a really interesting stat, but unless you code or you do play-by-play data, which I do not do either, it's a little hard to get. I prefer route percentage, which grabs some of that signal, though. And yeah, it looked like Ridley and then Zay, to be honest with you. So yeah, Kirk's a little disappointing. Sorry, I was trying to remember all that. I haven't written that up yet. You watched though, so what do you think?
But no, I mean, I didn't watch much of that game, but like that's you're far more concerned with the fact that Ridley's a better receiver, like, and we knew that. Like, I know a lot of people were being tentative, and a lot of people were saying, "Wow, we haven't seen Calvin Ridley in 2 years." And like, look, Calvin Ridley was one of the top 6 wide receivers in the NFL. He didn't get injured. And then he came back to an arguably better offense.
Yeah.
And is still Calvin Ridley. So like you
last time he played, he was wide receiver 4. Like, you can have that expectation for like he's gonna.
Yeah. So it's not like that. Like, I'm not surprised that Christian Kirk is not the one there. Like,
I don't know where I read that. Obviously, I know it and it's in my data, but I read that in an article somewhere, and I wish I could tell you who said it, because that fact's been stuck in my head since I read it, and I should technically source it, but like my data would, I don't know. But yeah, Kirk looks like a strong 3rd, 4th option on that offense right now. Phil. All right. Here are the 2 trade ideas I have for you. These are the types of things I'd be exploring. I'd get the best offer you could, so don't feel free to shop a league when you've got an asset like Puca, because you should. Again, that's why I'm trying to moderate what I'm saying here, because I want you to have high expectations, and I'm concerned about the risk. That's all. But you shouldn't trade away just to trade. But the 2 types of trades I would go exploring, and Zach probably has a better idea, is one, add a first to Puca. Go get one of those great wide receivers that's, 24, 25. Like, if you can get to Higgins, because he's a little undervalued right now. Like, I want that trade. Or I want a first. If you just want out, I want a first, generic mid first. I'd be willing to trade. Like, 2 seconds is not the same. And you're also still thinking too small. Again, I'm modifying for the fact that we all get a lot of stuff wrong. I say it to be fun. Like, I get a lot wrong, because I do. But we all get a lot wrong, and we have to be aware of that. But if you're thinking seconds, you're thinking too small, because the upside is significant. And that's ultimately what we're chasing in Dynasty. Allow yourself to strut a little bit, my man. You picked Puka Nacua. I didn't. You did, and you got a gold star. From that round, you did fantastic. At that level of value, you are allowed to demand it. Like, here's your license. And I didn't. So you made a good move. So you trust yourself to make future good moves. Don't nickel and dime it here. You got something real good, especially for right now. And if it's not a first, or if you're not trading up into one of those players that you were just very comfortable rostering in Dynasty for 3 years, then no, hold on. Play the gambling game. And you did good. Try and roll it over into something great. And did you have a better idea of a trade?
No, I think that's
quarterback.
No, I like the adding a second to Puka to try to get a first. Like, that's the play that I'm going to, because all of a sudden Puka's worth something, and so people are going to think
they're needling you a little bit because he gave me an extra second. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, like
they're getting one over on you, but you're really getting one over on them.
Hopefully, yeah. It's greedy, but you can try. I don't think 2 seconds is enough. I don't think generically in most leagues, 2 seconds would seem like, you stole him. I honestly think that would be the reaction for most teams. Phil, to be honest, he did it on my Seahawks defense, which isn't great. Yeah, I understand the feels. And I don't know if the Rams' future QB will be as target heavy as Stafford. That's That's what we're playing with London, though. Remember, the situations change. It could get better from Stafford for all we know. It's meant to be a great quarterback class coming. Don't talk yourself out the value you managed to earn by listening to whoever you listen to, because it certainly wasn't me to pick up the Puca. Like, that's all I'd say. Like, don't play the situation out too far. We do a bad job of predicting that. Yeah. So a sell at a second is interesting. It's your team, man. If you're willing to get out, this is as much risk as you're willing to take. You did good. You upgraded a fourth to a second. That's pretty solid. And you haven't made a mistake, but you may have missed an opportunity, perhaps. But it's a little more risky. On average, I would think it would be worth that risk, because I think right now more teams would be more interested in trading a first, especially if you added a second, like Zach said, minimum. But it's your team. It's your risk. If it feels good to you, you can do it. All I can say is where my head's at. And like I say, I get a lot wrong. So don't feel free to disagree. Just bouncing an idea off you. Stickman87, strategy question. If you have another team's 24 first, and they are clearly one of the bottom two teams, thoughts on buying points off their team? Solid and allowed. Get Mike Evans for a 25 second and one down. I would do that anyway. So yes. Yeah. Hey now, boys, with Gainwell out, what are you doing with the Eagles running backs right now? I'm hoping Swift can be more than the 5th round pick they traded him for. Yeah, I had to look that up. They're projecting the other fella to leave the backfield, I think. But I think I've got one more hope left in the tank for Swift.
Did you just the other fella, Rashad Penny?
I thought he was out too.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he is.
No, I might have. I might have finally hate Penny. Who knows? Let me look at. I got my week 2 projections out. That's pretty early for me. I can look it up, but yeah, I've got a little more hope left in the tank for Swift. But so far, week 1 looked rough as hell. Genji, I'm not buying Zay Flowers too. No. Just when I thought we were getting rid of Kadarius Toney. To be fair, if Kadarius Toney ever had a week like Zay Flowers just had, I would have been a little more hesitant on my hate. Like, that is honestly a really solid week from him. Don't undersell it. Like, again, we're allowed to hate, but with the recognition that we get a lot wrong. And I was Drake London-ish on Flowers. I couldn't write him off. But yeah, I think some stuff's going to change by week 2 on that particular offense. What offense were we talking about? Philadelphia. For the running backs. Swift is currently projected as running back 1 with Penny as running back 2 on that team. Interestingly.
And so Genji, like Flowers is much better than Kadarius Toney. Like not even not even to me
I think you're going a little too far with the hate.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that Zay Flowers is in the same echelon as Addison or JSN, because he's not, but like he's a very decent kind of do everything, can slide into the slot, is quick. Like, I know they schemed him some funky touches last week, and he had the play where he like cut and teleported, but he's also a pretty good wide receiver.
That's a weird question. I got to answer it. Just because the player plays in the slot doesn't mean he automatically gets more targets, right? I think that's weird logic. Yeah. Joseph. Lost Dobbins and Deontay. I feel for you, man. And then 12 team 1 QB, half point PPR, start 9. Running backs are this, wide receivers are this. Should I consider improving as soon as possible, or relax and stay pat? Well, in season, we try and do less relaxing than the off season, but in general, I'm pretty chill. Let's look at your roster. It's stacked at running back, so I'm not that concerned. And your wide receivers are they're pretty decent. They're okay. I don't think Dobbins and Deontay does a lot to diminish this roster. Your wide receivers have lost more than your running backs, I think, personally, because I don't think Dobbins starts over Bijan or Brees. So if you essentially lost the second, maybe the top of your wide receivers, and I think he can do something about that in season. I would try and make through the first 4 weeks, try and get on a good hill, move fast, move sharp, try and replace Deontay. And if it doesn't work out by week 4, if you haven't managed to, if Nico didn't beat my expectation, Cooks doesn't bounce back, or whoever you trade for doesn't do the job, then you can relax a little bit. Try and ride to the playoffs, of course. We're always trying to compete, but you don't have to stay nails to the wall. But with Bajon and Brees as my running back 1 and 2, my mind's on win. This is a good year to win for you, because then you can trade them for value and you use them in the premium and you're able to trade them. And after that, it becomes a little less certain. So yeah, I would try and go do something to replace Deontay at least. Deontay's doubtful. Is he definitely out for a longer period of time than that? I haven't seen that. I don't know how long he's out for.
Yeah, I haven't seen either, but
not Zay Flowers. Okay. You said Zay Flowers.
Oh, he said Bateman is the guy there. I mean, again,
I think so. I think there's a window for him for that week 1. Like, I shouldn't make excuses, but he only ran 29% of the snaps and was still pretty heavily involved in the target share. Like, that to me seems like the offense might reshape itself over the next few weeks. But Bateman getting healthy has not been a good bet lately, like since he entered the NFL. I appreciate it. Genji had so many offers for Dobbins and him in the offseason and held. I just didn't say I didn't like Dobbins. But no, that sucks, man. I have many similar feelings right now where my competitive teams just lost Kerr. Aaron Rodgers has retired or blown his Achilles on my team on a bunch. Like, you can't predict the future. There's maybe lessons to learn there, but ultimately you can't predict. That's the whole thing. If you could, it would be less fun, honestly. Not the tilting, but the unexpected is part of it. 12 team start 10 through flex PPR 1.5 tight end premium. Buy or sell Pitts for Quentin Johnson and a third. It's a decent price for Pitts, but I think I wait on Quentin Johnson. I think he can do more to make this trade better later. Like, that's what I bet on. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a solid trade for Pitts. Like, I'd be like, oh yeah, tight end, minimalist position. Pitts is one of those guys. But I think you got 15 weeks left here where Quentin Johnson can instantly bring you a first back in this trade. So I would play that. Genji, they basically use them as an extension of the run game. Talking about Flowers, yeah.
Yes, but again, like, that was in one game. But like, watching what Flowers did in college and being able to kind of look at that, like, that was a weird game. That was kind of I mean, Lamar Jackson fumbled twice. They're off. Like, I think they only threw for, they didn't even throw for 100 yards. So, I mean, for 200 yards. So it was not, I don't think that game is indicative of the way Flowers is going to be used for the entire season. And again, I'm not saying he's the second coming, but like, let's not give him Kadarius Toney treatment. Like,
no, he's much better than that. I still think there's still a window for Bateman, but at this point, it might be a little bit of copium. I like hearing you say that, though, Genji. I'll say that. But I just, like, I have some hesitation on Flowers, too. And yet I still want to modify your dislike. Just, if I can help you at all, which I probably can't because you're awesome, but I would say bring your risk tolerance up on Flowers, just a touch, because it was solid. It was an impressive game, and that's for someone looking for excuses. And that was a weird ass game, and it was week 1, and you and I both already understand that. But like, he was 23% of the entire routes. Odell Beckham is actually a little bit more interesting. He was 25% of all routes run, and that's the way I prefer to look at route participation. So that's actually more interesting to me, especially since Beckham was actually adding more per touch on an NFL standpoint, looking at EPA. But Zay Flowers was like second overall in opportunity. Like, it was, and it's because he's getting that gadgety role with 84% snaps and 6.3 rushing share. Don't get me wrong, and that target per route run won't sustain. But assuming he's the 2 in this offense, and Bateman doesn't have that upside, which I hope happens, then even a drop in that target share from 45%, like, there's a long way to fall before that gets bad, man. Like, it was a really good week 1 for Flowers, and that's from a Bateman truther. Come on. I believe so too. Hammy injury immediately just bugs me. Yeah, I understand. See, I mean, We try to say these things just so we sound like humans, but also because it helps place it in context for me. Like, hate it for the player more, obviously. Remember, there's a player with a bad leg under that. But yeah. I'm sure they hate it more. Derek Carr is the new Kirk Cousins. Interesting week one from Carr. I think Carr was Cousins before Cousins, if you know what I mean. That upside QB2. I like that sentence. So top 12 on here with those weapons. Kamara coming soon as well. Yeah, it's solid, man. MT, from what I heard, is the new Mike Evans. I didn't watch. I literally didn't watch. But didn't he just catch him fall down?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a lot of yards after the catch, but it was also like not all of his targets were on target. So I don't know. It was fine. Yeah, it was very much so. But he started off with like the first 3 targets of the game, and I'm like, here we go.
Considering where we were saying to trade for him in the offseason, like those points were just gravy. Like the cost of him this offseason means that he can do nothing, and it was worth it at this point. Like just startable week 1 was good. Genji, Houston is a really good secondary. That's good to know. It's the kind of thing I miss. I'm trying to track defensive stats, but sometimes I miss some of that matchup stuff. Underrated defense. Thanks for letting me know. Good evening, everyone. Hey, Samson. Happy to see you. T. Higgins is changing his jersey number to 0. Yeah, that was rough, man. But I think I'll bounce back. And specifically aimed at you, Russ, if I don't miss my guess. Samson, hopefully everyone had a good week 1. It's actually pretty solid across the board. Appreciate you asking or saying. Me personally, being a Bills fan, is just going to act like this was week 4 of the preseason. Yeah, I was surprised. I won't even say it, Samson. But yeah, I wouldn't worry. They'll bounce back. James Cook's usage might bite me by the end of the season. Like I was really, really out. But that was a solid week 1. If you're looking for positives, James Cook took the first step to, kicking in a few of my teeth. So that's good. It's not a profit, and they seem to not know what to do at tight end right now. They're like splitting half of a twice normal tight end role between him and Knox. Like they don't know what they want to do just yet with those two. Yeah. It's not a profit, but at least you get to re-roll for a player that doesn't have much of a ceiling. There you go. I'm terrified of everyone that in that Bears offense. That Bears offense is boot-shakingly terrifying right now. But hey, look, Mooney and Roschon Johnson. That's nice. It's like the look of the pretty thing. Look over here. But it was nice to see them doing stuff. DJ Moore is a wind sprinter now. Sam Laporta, will he finish top 8? I think he's got a good chance to finish top 12 as a rookie. I mean, that doesn't mean as much for all of the positions, but it's not unheard of. And that was a solid week 1 from a rookie tight end. Can't ask for more than that, to be honest. I wouldn't put it that way. No, that was solid. And yes, he can. We're going to believe until someone outprices us. Henry Muto. Hey, Henry. I'm a late to the show, but we are late to your comments, so you're good. But I watched the start. Let me tell you a cautionary tale. I had the exact same situation in 2015 or whatever year it was. I forget what situation.
You gotta keep reading.
He keeps going.
Yeah.
I took Diggs in the 5th round of my redraft, and he started to get training camp buzz, but I was offered a 2nd rounder for him, and I was like, well, I just cashed out. So look at that. That was a huge loss. Been kicking myself for 8 years now, so be careful to deal Puca for great value. Great story, Henry. Thanks for sharing. I would say that's the wrong comparison, and I have a better one where I fucked up. Oh, messed up. Sorry. Stephon Diggs and Aaron Jones were 2 misdrafted players in NFL history as far back as I can see, and I have good rookie data to actually have a strong opinion. Like, Diggs is an entirely different conversation, in my opinion, than Puca. But a good one, Tyreek Hill. Not an even comparison, because Puca had a college presence, and he was efficient on a per touch basis in splits, which I kind of know what to do with, and dismissed him on that basis. Tyreek Hill just had no profile. He played as a utility player. I think he was on the field 4 times, but he came in with this amazing athletic profile, and I know to take a few shots at them because I know my high teen league mates are going to like him if they do anything. After year 1, when he seemed to edge into that, there was a big conversation in the second season of who was going to be the wide receiver between him, someone Robinson, and who was the other guy? There was a three-way competition. But after that first season, I decided to trade Tyreek Hill for Philip Dorsett, who I did not want. I did not step on that landmine. I knew it was bad, but I wanted out of Hill, and it was the best trade I could get. Philip Dorsett and a second. Tyreek Hill. He kicked my ass more than enough just last week for that trade, and I've suffered that for 3 years. And the reason I say that's a better example or better for this direct comparison to your story is that Tyreek Hill, there was more risk in Tyreek Hill's profile because there was a lack of college production. Puca, I think there's a little more because we at least have a college sample, but it's still as questionable almost a sample. As Diggs, I think you just should have known on Diggs, but that's personally my little evaluation process, which doesn't matter. But yeah, and that's kind of why I'm trying to mitigate the risk here.
Yeah.
Like I think Genji's going too far because it could be Diggs, but it could be that kind of outcome. And I think trading him for a second is not going far enough. It's definitely got to be closer to the middle there. Just admitting that we could be either guy right now. The guy trading away Tyreek Hill, the guy trading away, what's the negative? Philip Dorsett. There you go. And we got to find the middle ground on that best or worst. Grid up, but they are their teams. They can manage the risk however they choose. And then blame me. That's cool too. Grind for gold. Win now dynasty team. Trade Eckler for JSN and a mid-24 first. Eckler for Yes. I don't
give
care.
Me JSN. Give me the first. Yeah.
Is it a JSN window? We said we were going to look for those first 4 weeks as disappointing rookies. Is JSN
I don't know.
it?
Like he didn't have very many yards, but that's because of the team. But he had as many targets as DK. Maybe it is. Like
it would be pretty awesome. Yeah. But then again, Treylon Burks. I want to ask you about Treylon Burks week 1. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch. Parker Corso. Love the talent, just not the team. That is a fair assessment. In a lot of different situations, I don't know exactly who you're talking about. What I would say is the heuristic for this is situation changes. If I'm going to Adam Hardstead it, the situations change regularly and without really a way of predicting it, and normally positively more often than not. And so try to go with what you know of the player. If you don't know anything on the player, you're just in limbo. But
it's the AJ Brown corollary.
Yeah. Well, it's a Corey Davis and AJ Brown corollary to me. Yeah. It's what finally convinced me on Corey Davis, because you never know what can be done with a situation by a good player until you see it. And then AJ Brown came in behind Corey Davis, was like, look, an actual phenomenal player can do this. And I was like, oh, yeah, Corey Davis is bad, or at least worse than I hoped. Henry Muto, I took London and the 102 that year. Not great, Bob.
Ooh, yeah, that's high. If you've been hanging out with the Dynasty Dummies, you would have had Garrett Wilson. That would have been better.
I don't think I even had London as the 102, but whatever. B-Dags, 12 teams through flex, start 10 PPR. Trade Jacobs in an attempt to get Higgins. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, although I do think Higgins is outscored by Jacobs this year. So, like, Dynasty, yes, that's a really good trade. But if we're in point scoring season, you got to kind of factor in whether or not you're competitive and that. But, like, I still think Jacobs outscores Higgins in most leagues. So, okay. But I'd rather have Higgins on the roster, if that makes sense.
This is where I'll draw the line, Genji. I have lower potential range of outcomes than Stephon Diggs, to be fair. Yeah. Bateman breakout is this week. Book it. I sure hope so, man. If he can get healthy and that snap share comes up, I expect it. But all of this is theory for me. And, I don't want to tell everyone else it's certain, but you can for sure. I love watching Peter hack darts on screen. Was I hacking darts?
I mean, maybe.
Okay.
You're a legend, either way.
I don't know what hack darts means. I'm not this cool, True North. Help me out. I'm a 4-year-old dad. I don't know what these things are. I didn't know when I was a kid, to be fair. Henry versus Dallas, 2 touchdowns, scored 25 PPR points. I'm lost again. London? Yeah. Okay. Week 1, Ogletree was a good example. Okay, we've caught up with that conversation.
4 touchdowns. Yeah. Okay.
Never bet on touchdowns. Was then drafted in 6th round. Not as bad as Ayuk looks good now, but he moved up to the 4th after a similar thing. Wow, better season, but never did anything since. Yeah. Adam Troutman's another good example of that. Small sample did great. For a second there, Hunter Renfrow gave us hope for the, this tiny basketball players, I guess. Puca, though, is a real deal. Honestly, I hope so for the player, and I hope for those that snagged him in the 4th round, apparently, of rookie drafts. I think he's more real than fake, but I still think the expectation has gone the other way at this point. But again, if it's a second, I'm in. If it's a first, I'm out. That's where I'm drawing it. Puca Ogletree, I like it. That's a good name. Seems people are overreacting with Lamar, who didn't have Andrews and won as well as Dak. Yeah, I think that week 1 probably sent their not value, because people aren't suddenly giving them away, but their hype a little in the wrong direction for 1 week. Again, players with more established careers, we can probably just go, we'll weather this storm. Who's up by 21? Yeah, I think that game's script. Burrow was drafted before both of them, mostly, and played pretty bad. Yeah, but he got that swag, that hype won't dim. Any chance Burrow is easy to trade for right now? I don't think so. Zach's checking it out for us. Point being, why are we hating on QBs? I'm not. We defended Lamar and Dak. But yeah, good point. Especially players that have got more established production history. It's fine. Is Burrow the only one to get the rain excuse? Yeah, I think he's the only one who had that particular excuse this week, but I do take what you mean, Gavin. Yeah. Any hate towards Lamar and Dak's probably oversold.
It's the same thing that we the royal we, like that Twitter and the fantasy football community do anyway, is overreact to every single
kind of
thing.
What we do.
Yeah, without thinking long term, Gavin.
We're all just trying to be first, and there's no reason to. Again, that's why I like week 1 and the fact that hopefully doing the work pays off, because there's a reason. There's a lot of wild ranges of outcomes here, and we know the least right now, and there's so there's a reason to be the most overreactionary. You just got to do it as little as possible, because we have to be right, and there are very few things we can be more accurately, more often right on. If you know what I mean? There's a sentence in there somewhere. You get it. You get it. Gopher, I'm playing Swift on flex. I'd have to see the options, but I think he's a solid flex play this week. Yeah.
Peter's burner. Peter just sitting over there typing.
Register the same amount of it. No, I think Puca definitely had a better week 1 than Tutu, but Tutu's week was more pleasing for me. Because remember, the reason Puca was bad, the only reason, is that he's short and he will die. And that was literally that he's too short to play in the NFL. Anyone think he looked too short last week? Like, if that's the only reason.
I mean, I did. He was still pretty short.
You're still pretty short?
He was good.
Did he die?
He was good, though.
He was good in college. Everyone could admit he was good in college. Everyone could admit that the draft capital was good. They just didn't think he could get on the field and do stuff. Kind of did. I'm not all in. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even picking up Tutu where he's on the waiver wire in some redrafty type formats if my roster won't allow it. But I think it's positive. Of the two, yeah, Puca should be the pickup if they're both on the waiver wire. But I don't think we really have to make that choice. So, to be fair, Christian Watson or
not even close.
London. Watson called like 0 points this week, dude. Like, come on, Genji.
He was out.
Higbee's usage is kind of sitting there waiting to be spark up in fantasy as well. It was still strong and solid, Gavin Ferguson, Olave or Garrett Wilson, and a second.
I still want Wilson in a second. I think Olave gave you more points this year, but I still want Wilson in a second.
Yeah, I think the decision maker there is if you need the points. It's that simple. Olave is probably going to be pretty. Come on, Zach. Olave is probably going to be easier to trade than Garrett Wilson this offseason after what we expected this season, right? There's at least that.
Yeah, probably.
But you get the second, so I think it's pretty easy. So you just decide whichever player you want, or have ranked higher. I have Wilson over Olave, I think. London Gavin. London Gavin. Got it. Wilson and the pick. God, you all think the same. Corey, Ayuk or JSN? PPR. Ooh, that's a more interesting question. I think JSN, but shouldn't Ayuk be Ayuk should have higher value at this point, right? That week, that was fantastic. If you've got Ayuk, I think you can make better trades, but I want JSN. Same position trades suck, man, and this is a good example of why, but JSN for me. For this season, Ayuk. Dynasty, JSN all day. Easily, I'd add. Enter the 4. Is it panic time on Fields? We talked about this a lot earlier, just in case I'm assuming you missed it because we've been talking too long about other things. Yes, we've been more panicky on Fields than most for 2 years now. And this week, we're full on panic mode. There's sirens going off in the background. There's an ostrich running through the background. We're panicking. 12-team, 1 QB, start 8, give Garrett Wilson and a first, get Olave. There's a lot of Olave for Wilson trades, and I find that interesting since they're both young, good receivers, and you're getting draft capital on the Wilson side. Again, the decision maker for here to me is, do you need the points? But a first, I think that just leans the Wilson side very easily in every situation. A second, I'll lean the points, whether you need the points or not. But for a first, I'll just take the free first. Thank you very much, sir. That's me. Zach's catching up. Don't worry. And he said Wilson, I guarantee it. Genji, I sold my Justin Fields over the summer. Panic set in back in January. That was a good timing. Good job. Corey Ayuk. X-Brain, X-Bursts, X. How do you guys do this week in your super... Oh, terribly. I had Aaron Rodgers, so I was out pretty much. Then Kyler Murray is my other quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. I forget who my other quarterback is. I think it's Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray. I also got Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah. I ran into the spaceman. He's much smarter than I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also I didn't win against the median either, so I'm 0-2.
Oh man, I got trounced by the highest scorer in our division. 235 points he scored. Woo. Yeah, he had Brandon Ayuk. He has Brandon Ayuk. He also had Tua Tagovailoa. Derrick Henry didn't do much for him. Rashad White didn't do much. Javonte Williams did pretty good. Then he had Jacoby Myers. So yeah, that put me to bed pretty good. Overall, and Jared Goff, I got put to night, not just by injuries. I don't think I would have beaten this team week 1, no matter what I did. Shout out Jason Mason at Big Baby Wesh, W-E-S-H. He crushed me this week. Good job. Cracker Barrel division. Heads up. Genji, hot take possibly, but Seahawks are going to be dreadful this year. New rookie QB coming in 2024. You think?
Could be.
How did they look to you?
I mean, they weren't very good, but
okay.
They were hot garbage this past week, but
Well, when you don't feature Tyler Lockett, that's what you get. Gavin, Christian Kirk week 1 reminds me of Devontae's from last year. You think there's more upside in Kirk? Look, there's a lot to be balanced on this current usages, but right now it looks like at best a third option on that offense, possibly fourth. Solid player, and a lot can change just through 2 weeks. So there's, you don't panic dropping or nothing. Nicholas, 12-team start 10, 1 QB, half-point PPR, 0.2 points per carry. Just traded Kelsey for Saquon. I like it. Generally, got Mahomes. That's the rest of his team. Kelsey for Saquon. I like it. I'd probably take Saquon.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't think Irv Smith does anything for you this year, by the way. Like, I was fully convinced of that before the season, but after week one, I'm even more convinced. Commit's an interesting trade window, maybe, but I think it's Ingram. Just throwing that at
Start 10.
He's got Addison, though. He's doing fine.
Yeah.
Gibbs, JT. JT's coming back for you. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Hopefully. AJ unintentionally had a Dynasty Superflex startup that looks like a productive struggle. Unintentionally. I didn't know what that term was when I did it. I already traded for 224 first, 224 seconds, have Burrow. Do I tank? I mean, if you're running in that direction, why not run as fast as you can? Yeah. And it's a solid way to build a Dynasty squad. Just following ADP is the same way. Like, don't... Just because it might not be popular by some, it might seem nerdy, or, it's a strategy. It's a solid way. The reason it is because it's a solid way to build a Dynasty squad. So keep going in that direction. And you have Burrow, do I tank? Now, what I'm worried is you mean sell Burrow. You don't have to go that far, but you can continually try to reduce your points, trade your picks, or maintain your picks, and pick up other people. So, yeah, run as fast as you can in the direction you're already doing well going in. Don't trade Burrow just to tank. Have you talked to anyone about Bateman's week 1 usage with Mark Andrews out, Peter? Just want to make sure you are loved and appreciated. Real men do cry. Yeah, it was a rough week 1. I'm not going to lie. I was surprised he played. I didn't think he was going to play this week, and it turned out he did. Overall, I'm not crying, though. I got slammed a lot. Rightfully, I'm out here to be slammed. But I was less shaken by it than I could have if he'd been healthy, or even just played a fully healthy. If he played a healthy complement of snaps, I'd be utterly concerned. As it is, I think there might be some more balancing coming our way, especially since it's just week 1. So I'll hold out a little more hope. But yeah, it's okay. You can picture me crying in the corner whenever I turn off the camera, because it's true. Genji, if you want AJ, who are your running backs and tight ends? If I want AJ.
Oh, no, he's talking to AJ. The next.
Okay. Did I answer that? Yeah. I went through that. Keep running that direction. His team is Burrow, Ritter, Murray, JSN, Wilson, Addison, Dotson, London. Yeah, you can trade Gainwell and Gibson and Connor for something. You're just trying to get rid of the points. All of them have viability this year. So you should get seconds, or you could be even looking. And I wouldn't just target next year, by the way. That's the other thing about the productive struggle. You're trying to put as many eggs in as many baskets, so don't ignore the 25. And people like pushing it an extra year out. It's a little bit of a discount. And I would have all 3 going for whatever's fair. Multiple thirds, a second, a wide receiver or tight end who is hopefully going to do well, but isn't going to make difference-making points this year for you. Like, what's Sam Laporta's value right now? He's going to do well this year, but he's not going to help your team win by himself. That kind of move, yeah. Good idea, Gidge. Super Kuba, anyone else trying to buy... Like, I did that all off season. So I can't. I think I'm maxed on Kyler right now. But yeah, I think he's been the best value this off season in Dynasty. But it's a heavy bet. Again, there's risk in everything. It's a risk that I'm taking because I think the upside proportionally to his value this offseason has been insane. No Cooper, you're not alone. Traded Justin Fields for Kyler this summer. I think you could have done even better this summer. But yeah, especially right now, that's feeling pretty good. Is Antonio Gibson just a roster clogger at this point? No. Running backs of that level are not cloggers. I don't define them as cloggers. He's actually getting usage, and we know that in the right situation or opportunity, he can get more usage and score lots of fantasy points. It's somewhat proven. And those aren't roster cloggers to my mind. They're the people I want on my bench. Like Antonio Gibson's is a high caliber roster for me right now in terms of my bench, at least. So no, that's not the way I think of roster cloggers. Genji, he's just as bad as Tebow, more athletic, yes. He's answering your Fields comment.
He's not. He's a better thrower of the football than Tebow.
I prefer Justin Fields Bears will stink. I mean, I think Donald Mooney and Roshan Johnson can actually put up points this year. Not top 12. But yeah, you're talking about NFL stuff, so okay. They definitely need to do something for the team. They're going to have to readdress it if this keeps up. Going to have to address it before the season finishes. BDAGs, 12-team Superflex, PPR, start 12, best ball. I love best ball leagues this time of year. Have an inbox trade offer. Love and Barkley for Kyler and London and Swift. Deal doesn't feel bad, but I feel like I should want more. I want the Kyler, London, and Swift side of it, personally, in a Dynasty best ball even. Barkley's nice, don't get me wrong. He's a shiny thing right now, but Dynasty, I lean all the three others. So. I know, right? That's tough. If you want points, it's Love and Barkley, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's Kyler, but like if you like the Kyler London Swift side, if your team is not competitive, is a really good way to be really not competitive and gain. Gain.
But yeah,
but yeah, like if you're competitive,
completely fair. Barkley makes a team competitive that isn't competitive. And like if you seriously look at your roster, if you're a top 4 team, I'd be very happy getting Barkley there. Most Dynasty teams, I tend to operate as if I'm in that 70%. I'll just lean the other players. But yeah, it gives you a way to make the decision or just ignore it. It's fine. Man, a first for Puca is nuts. I think it's what he could bring, and that's where I'll hold the line. Mm-hmm.
I would add a second to get a first. If you think you can get a first straight,
if I got that counter, I would accept it. That's what I'll say. I never get counters. What is Game World's trade value right now? A second, but not really, because no one wants to trade picks.
Yeah,
we're in season, so it's a little easier, but it's like hypothetically a second. And mostly, he's not a player that's very easy to trade for right now in Dynasty. He's kind of a limbo value. And I wouldn't trade for him. Those are the guys I'm hoping to find on the waiver wire or get in other deals, Yeah, seriously, I have 0 Puca. Same. DK or London? DK. And a second. London and a second or DK? DK. I'm still leaning DK. On a Caleb Williams roster. Yeah. I get what you mean. London helps you get closer to that Caleb Williams goal, I guess, but
DK's a better player.
Not enough. Just to DK. Anyone else excited Sam Laporta got 40% of snaps at wide receiver? No, but I was excited about Sam Laporta's week 1.
But again, it's the Kittle use. Like he was the closest thing to looking at Kittle in this draft class, which is also why he was my tight end 1.
Zach always ready to make that outlierish argument about watching the players. I don't do it. I don't come to that.
We had this whole like lead up.
We agree. Anyway, Luke Musgrave was with a crazy. Yeah, his ADOT was insanely high. 50% target share, ran all the routes. Come on, Pete. I'm certainly interested in him for the first time, but that's all I'm giving you. I still prefer Sam Laporta. I still take Meyer over him. Mayor. Henry Muto out about 4 weeks for Deontay Johnson. Oh, I did ask. Thank you, Henry. Appreciate that. I didn't know. Keyshawn Buddha, deep sleeper. Actually, something I'm going to write up this week. He was a really interesting usage in terms of route usage. What are you going to say?
I was going to say he's going to be really quickly in Belichick's doghouse because he hasn't figured out that he plays in the NFL and you need to catch the ball with 2 feet inbounds. He had 2 plays that cost them the game this week. And he caught the ball and all he had to do was go toe tap, and he didn't. He looked good.
Any other team, I'd be like, but that's positive. But yeah, he's dead now.
He may be. It was painful because he'd run a great route and he
so many routes.
Yeah. Oh, he looked good. He is good. He just is a mental midget. at some point you have to realize that all of a sudden your uniform is now blue and red and white, and you're not playing at LSU anymore, and the rules have changed, and you need to get 2 feet in bounds.
He had a whole off season.
Yeah,
Boston College doesn't count. I personally agree.
I mean, fine.
Just James Cook lost snaps to Latavius Murray.
James Cook is James Cook.
Not debating it. I'm just saying his usage was higher week 1 than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So his rushing share specifically. But I'm still not in on James Cook.
He looked pretty good, but the Jets defense is also really good. So they were running running a delayed handoff to Cook to because it looks like a pass, and then they're like, oh, so he had some yardage on that type of
nice puff pass kick. I made it. Missed you guys. Trying to help out a friend in a redraft league. Currently holding Dalton Schultz. Wondering if we should drop for Hayden Hurst. No, Hayden Hurst usage has me tilting a little bit. No, I'm not going in on Hayden Hurst. I'd rather have Schultz. Yeah, personally.
I feel bad that because we mentioned him a couple weeks ago, and then I spaced on this last week. When we talked tight ends, but Hunter Henry with the Patriots this past week, and I know people are going to be like, "Oh, well, he scored a touchdown, and so it's not real." This is going to be a thing again. Everyone who is really smart. So, I remember listening to Evan Silva and Rich Rebar and you, Peter, and Jacob Rickroad. Everybody last year was like Hunter Henry, but the Patriots didn't have an offense last year, and so it wasn't Hunter Henry. The Patriots have an offense this year, and everybody who was in on Hunter Henry last year hasn't said a peep about him. This is the Hunter Henry. I
was even interested in Mike Gesicki a little deeper, just for the similar reason.
Yeah, but Henry is the red zone, the safety blanket, the security blanket. It's like Linus, and you can see he even had another target that he didn't convert on.
Yeah.
in the red zone that it's this is going to be a thing this season with Mac Jones and Hunter Henry, and so if you can get in on him now, I know it's a little late because he had the 20-point week last week, but I have him on a bunch of
those red zone touches now.
I have him on a bunch of rosters, just kind of back end because he was so cheap.
I think I'm just holding him from last year. I've got him in a few places just because I was in last year, and why drop a tight end? Stephen Diggs fell in the draft we're past this, Genji. I don't know why you can't keep up an hour ahead. No. Stephen Diggs was much better. Tyreek Juco Legend, thank you.
Ayuk Juco Legend. Ramondre Stevenson Juco Legend. Yeah.
Dolphins are nice. They really have, they have 2 great wide receivers. And Tua is actually very good. We always knew Tua was good. Anyway. Love Laporta. Have him on my taxi squad and think about bringing him up. You can, if you need a start, but I don't think his points are going to be difference-making anytime soon. I'd rather keep the roster space, just as general advice, but I think he'll be solid. Who's your tight end? I have many. Henry, you won't get to this. We will eventually, Henry. But I have my own Tyreek horror story. It was 7.11 pick, and I was going to trade it for Tyreek Hill, and I offered $1, and someone else offered $2, so I missed it. He went 7.2. That sucks. Sorry, dude. It does
when
suck they pip you. It's like being sniped.
You should have gone 3.
Puff pass. Yeah, I can't get now in hindsight. Would have gone 5. Would have gone all of it. Puff pass kick. Snitch means situation. I agree. I see Bryce Young utilizing him more often in checkdowns or whatever they are called. Fair. He is a rookie QB and can't see his wide receivers usually. Hey, Short Kings rule. All of them are sketch at best. Bryce Young is Carolina, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of Stroud and Young's introduction? I think they were typical QBs in their rookie season.
Yeah, but again, I thought they looked like typical like good QBs in their rookie season, as opposed to
it wasn't
hey,
Kenny Pickett,
Zach Wilson, or Kenny Pickett. Yeah. They are who we think they are. They're good. They'll be top 12 quarterbacks. So they're good. I think they'll be top 12 quarterbacks. See, I knew it. No.
He knows that's not true. I'm not nearly this eloquent, and I can't spell this well. Robert lost Aaron and still have a strong team. That's awesome. Looking to buy a QB with Jimmy G in a first. What do you think I could get?
Whatever quarterback a first.
Good way of looking for a trade, by the way. See what you have, and then go see what people are interested in. Dak Prescott is low right now. Lamar Jackson is low right now. I don't think you get either, but I would try. Outside of that, who am I thinking of? You're not getting anywhere close to any of the good ones. So Russell Wilson, is he still kind of? He has more upside than Jimmy. Would a first be worth it? Bit too much. Yeah.
I mean, like to me, it's go target somebody like Goff. Who people think is bad, but is actually good for fantasy.
Yeah, I don't think you get Cousins, so you kind of have to default to the Goff. Goff's probably the best.
Carr is not a
Goff. Carr.
Yeah,
I say Carr. Yeah, they're the ones just up from Jimmy. You're not moving that far though, but yeah. That's probably.
I mean, you can't go get Kyler because he's hurt. So,
that's not the ideal trade. Yeah. I don't think you can get Tua, but sure, if you can get Dak,
if you
Tua,
can, absolutely. If you can with
or
a first and
Lamar, people might hate Lamar. Right?
But the problem is though, teams that have Dak or Tua are probably starting them and needing them to be starters. Whereas you're looking at like maybe a Goff is a QB3, maybe a Daniel Jones is a QB3, maybe Purdy is a QB3. You're trying to go get one of those guys who go and honestly go look at Robert. Go
he has look at already.
Well, go look at Ross.
In his league, big Tua fan.
Yeah, well, so Robert, go look at rosters in your league and look at teams that have 3 or 4 QBs rostered. And then go figure out which one of those teams you can,
kind of the best one.
Pick it, pluck a player from.
Especially
say that 3 times fast. Pluck a player.
I will not. And this is dependent on the fact that you are looking to compete. Otherwise, it's probably not enough of an upgrade. But if you're competitive, if you're really competing this year, go look at those teams with an extra QB. And send it for their best one that you think you can get. Zach's probably right. It's probably a Goff or a Carr. Can try Richardson. No, I don't think you get him for that right now. Other than that, better. Yeah, outside of that, you're probably just playing Jimmy. GG Peter and Super. Yeah, I got trounced. Oh, it's you. Oh, hey, Josh. Yeah, he crushed me. Absolutely. Congrats. I hate you. No, I had no chance, even if I didn't suffer. Aaron Rodgers, Genji, Jaden Reed was dropping in a start 9, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, 1 QB redraft. Should I care to add? Seems like I would add at the Josh Downs level. I'm a little more interested in Josh Downs. He's rosterable in that format. But start 9, I don't think those players crack your lineup a lot, but they shouldn't necessarily be on the waiver wire if you've got the extra space. But you should be preferring running backs. So, yeah, he's right on that line. Depends on who you got. I've got. Sorry, Zach. I'm trying to go.
Oh no, I think other people. Yes, I think other people are more excited about Jaden Reed than I am.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad person to add if other people are excited about him. Like that's the kind of the double.
If you can drop an IR player or whatever, or someone that you're never going to start, yeah, sure. I got a league with 524 first and 425 first. Bragger. Caleb Williams roster, of course. Tank for Caleb. What could we do with? I think Russ did this once, didn't he? Tank for Tua and crap out for Caleb or something. Dan, sitting on the following in a 10-team superflux, I give Dak and Godwin. I hate giving up those things. Plus a third, don't care. Get Gibbs, Nuke. Well, it's Nuke. It's not Christian Kirk. It's Nuke. Gibbs for Dak, DK is probably pretty even, but I prefer Godwin in Dynasty to Nuke, probably. Pretty close. My wide receivers are so you have the wide receiver to burn, you're saying, and you're trying to improve a running back. Yeah, I think it's an okay trade. I think I prefer DK and Godwin, but if you need a running back, I don't think this is a bad way of getting a pretty good one.
And I would rather have Hopkins than Kirk.
You would? Okay, I was worried about that.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm competing, like if I want points. Yeah.
Puca Cup, he is not, but okay. Top 24 Dynasty wide receiver.
Like top 24 rookie wide receiver.
Break my dreams, Genji. Just go ahead. Just trample all over him. 2 Pucas at 0 cups. Nice. Genji, he ran all the routes too. Parker was, and any other team, I'd try and make a case for that being a good thing. I thought the same thing with Hunter Henry. Zach. Oh, that's interesting. But I'm not banking on Matt Jones throwing 50-plus attempts.
Oh, no.
He's going to throw in the red zone a couple of times, though, and Hunter Henry will be there.
That's the thing. It's not a bet on the volume of Hunter Henry. It's a bet on the fact that the Patriots offense is going to be competent enough to get into the red zone. And Henry will be the blanket there.
I think we found Zach's better and best ball take, but okay.
No, it's
because you don't know when the touchdown's coming, but you know.
But that's how you put. If it's not Travis Kelce, if it's not Mark Andrews, if it's not any of those tight ends that are hurt in the top 4, that's how you play tight end: is scattershot tight end and find the guys who score touchdowns.
Also, Genji, my 2 tight ends right now are only Everett and I think Everett's fine. Fine. But it's salary, so I got to move someone to bring him up. Okay. If he needs points, I'd play Laporta. Yeah, I play Laporta over both of those guys. Ramondre Cerritos, college legend. Nice. 12-team, 21 bench, Wandell on waivers. How much fab? I go heavy and hard and early on fab, so it might not be the best ask, but if Wandell's, 20%, I think that gets him you, so I don't think I have to go higher. I'm not particularly excited about it, but he's not a player that should be on waivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Wandell on a dynasty waiver. It's like they don't even know the best roster cloggers. No, he's a solid roster. Don't get me wrong, Wandell probably stinks, but him being a free, he definitely shouldn't be on the waiver.
And it's another one of those Jaden Reed things where like you can pick somebody off. Yeah, you can pick somebody up off waivers that somebody else likes, and when they pop, you can trade them. And
like a Puca Nakua. I don't watch the Brooklyn game, but I heard Russ looked cooked. Really? Unfortunate. Deshaun Watson too. I hope so. Sorry, I don't like some people. At least Watson is running. Yeah. Flowers has got some sizzle, trying to get him everywhere. Thoughts? I don't think it was a better time to get him earlier, obviously, but you don't know that in advance. I think Flowers, what was he for a sec? It was JSN and then Addison, and then we had Quentin Johnson above him, and then Flowers, so he's 4. And after that, week 1, it's only more positive. So yeah, if you can get him everywhere at a good trade, you do it. I wouldn't go higher than market, though. I'd rather go try Quentin Johnson, who seems a little low right now. Addison, who seems to be a null value, and we preferred Addison anyway. JSN, who I think may dip a little bit because his performance wasn't equal to Flowers. But if you're rostering Zay Flowers in Dynasty, you're pretty happy. So I'm not going to wave you off the attempt. I think buying, you're probably going to be paying too much at this point. But if you don't, he's a good roster. Look at me having it both ways. Maybe a late second if Pop's late. Wandell, yeah. Sup, guys? Hey, Tim. Have we covered how everyone should be buying Drake London yet? Yeah, a little bit. We said we've been more interested in buying than panic selling, but we also think there's a lower window coming.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's going to improve much anytime soon. So if you can't trade for, and honestly, this is something I think about a lot in Dynasty, and I don't have any final thought on it, but I keep rolling it out to you guys, and I hope I have one. I think there's something like trade fatigue. Like if you send offers on London right now and you don't get something worked out, then when you try and do it later, it might be harder because they remember the other trade offers you sent. You know what I mean? Like I think there might be a negative return on sending offers a little too early, but it's a difficult game to play. But yeah, if he's worth anything like a late first, value-wise, obviously we don't know who the late firsts are yet, technically. London's solid ad. I think there might be a lower window coming. He was consensus 109, wide receiver 4. Zay Flowers, yeah. I'm buying London if my team stinks. Yeah, it also helps not to need points right now. If you're targeting London, that would be a good way of going about it. It's like trading for Kyler Murray and getting Caleb Williams, the Genji method. I'm going to think of that as a Genji way from now on.
But the worry I have is London's value isn't necessarily as insulated as Murray because people didn't have to expend the pick to get him. But Pete, is that?
Should I ask Josh Downs? I would add Josh Downs
in redraft
January.
though. In redraft,
I would have him over Reed. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it depends who you're dropping. That's the question here. Like if it's a running back, not. But there are some running backs I might consider it. It is a redraft. Garrett Wilson seems like a great target as well. Probably, yeah. But again, that's going to get smoother to do over the next few weeks because of the reasons we think he's a good target right now. I think that's going to continue. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to figure it out enough that we're suddenly going to see top 12 Garrett Wilson. So you've got time on both London and Wilson. So I'm not desperate to get the trades done right now, and I'm a little scared of tiring. And also, I don't know about you, but when my player has a situation like this and I immediately get trade offers, puts my nose up a little bit. Like you're trying to take advantage of me. So maybe hit the pause button, maybe let a few other things rise in value that you can offer them and say, hey, look, this nice thing. Would you like this nice thing for that thing that's been disappointing for a week or two?
Yeah.
Look, they're trying to keep us here. I'm holding Fournette, so I have a free. Yeah, drop Fournette. Damn, sure. 7 bench.
Yeah, so small. Yeah.
I understand that target share is an important metric in general. Everything's good for something. But I feel like for the Falcons, those metrics are a bit misleading. Week 1 in general is going to be misleading. That's why I kind of like to look at the baseline volume, which is just how many players are getting on the field to run a route. There are a lot of different ways of doing that, and there's a lot of different ways of looking at how they do on that route basis or that target basis. But you're right. When you're looking at target share and the sample size is like 10 targets, it's giving you an idea. And I think the route percentages are doing a better idea of giving you where the team wants to put volume. But even that is going to, when we double the sample size next week, it'll change things. And it's fine to evaluate it, but you have to know you're looking at week 1. Right. So yeah, it's a very good point to keep in mind. Good job, Marcus. Thanks, Rainman. Night. Marcus also says, I think buying Drake London might be fool's gold to those. It will, it's not going to get better till next year. That's why I also think, at minimum, that's why I also think maybe playing the long game on the buy window, like an Evan Ingram window. My bench, H.A. and Condre, Tucker, Musgrave, Fournette, Bigsby. I'd drop Fournette for either. I'd go Downs first. He's going to stink, Marcus, but not because he stinks. That should be a quote. Buy the player, not the situation. Yes, but also buy the player later when we know. If we're right, if we're not wrong, if we're right, then we should have time. And you can get a better deal or the deal that you want, at least, in time. Whereas right now, it might be a little harder. You might put their nose up and all this various things. If we're wrong, then you shouldn't be buying them right now. So, see, you get it. You can almost have it both ways. But again, if you get a great trade right now, if you can get him for a second plus Musgrave, Yeah, sure. How poetic of me. I've always said you're a poet. I've always said it.
It's the good night, guys. All right, Pete.
Yes, sir.
Look over there.